Welcome back to MTG Generations. Today we're just going to do a quick run through of the basics of gameplay. To start with, we've got our decks here, and we're going to show you a couple different ways just to shuffle up your deck. We're going to do a pass out shuffle on this side of the board, and we're going to just do a regular shuffle over here. A lot of people will have cards that are worth a little more money, so we'll have protectors on them. These are just basic starter decks that really have no value. So you can do overhand shuffles, and you can do a pass out shuffle, and just make sure that everything is completely separated and gives you a better chance of having your deck randomized. And when you're done with your shuffling, however the method you choose, you'll always have to offer up your deck to your opponent to have them cut it or shuffle it. And we'll do that in just a moment here. Especially after building your deck, you want to make sure that you do this quite a few times to make sure that your mana isn't in clumps, and to make sure that none of your spells are stuck together causing bad draws. So we're going to make sure that they're completely randomized. And then you pass the deck to your opponent's side. They can cut it several times if they choose. They can shuffle it, or sometimes they may just tap the top to show that it's not necessary to cut it. So we'll start off with a die roll to see who will actually be choosing to play or draw first.
Most likely you would either want to use a 12-sided or sometimes a 20-sided.
That was a 3.
And that
a
was 6.
So, when choosing, just so you know, if you choose to draw first, you will not get to play a land. Your opponent will have the first play, and they can choose to play out a land and start their turn, but they only have the 7 cards they initially draw. If you choose to draw first, you will have to let your opponent play their hand first, but you'll get an additional draw. So I'm going to choose the draw. So go ahead and do, he's going to play first. You'll also want to make sure that you have 7 cards in your starting draw. Usually you want to check to make sure that you have at least 2 or 3 mana so that you can start casting spells in the game. I choose to keep my hand.
I will keep as well.
If either opponent wanted to, they could do what is called a mulligan, in which case at the filming of this video you would currently reshuffle your hand into your library and draw 6 new cards. Each time you mulligan, you draw 1 less card. There is a new mulligan coming up soon in the next week that will be initiated as of the release of M20, but we'll go over that after it's already become the legal form of mulligans. So he's going to keep, so he gets to play first because I will be choosing to draw an additional card.
I will play a land, and now my main phase, I will tap it to play an enchantment called Telepathy. Your opponents play with their hands revealed.
Okay. Alright, so this is going to be my hand, and I'm going to place it here. At any time, my opponent can look at any cards that they want to, just so they know what I'm holding in my hand. As to not get it confused with anything else that I play on the battlefield, I will keep them stacked. Secondary main phase? Pass. And
Yes.
ending phase. So at my turn, I will get to draw an additional card. My opponent gets to see my hand, so I still have to keep it out. I will choose to play 1 land, the Plains, and no combat and no secondary main phase. So I will end my turn.
So I will untap my upkeep, I don't have anything for. Draw. Play another land. Main phase, I will pay a colorless and a blue for a 1/3 flying seacoast drink.
Okay.
And I will pass turn.
I'll draw for the turn. Another land. I will immediately play that. And I will pay 1 white, 1 colorless for the Devil Thorn Fox. And I will pass my turn.
And I'll pay 2 colorless and a blue for a Windrake. It is a 2/2 flying. And I will swing over with a 1/3 flying.
Okay, so we'll be tapping the 1/3 flyer
Yes.
to attack. Being that it is a flyer and I only have a 3/1 on the ground, I cannot block it. I will have to take the 1 damage from the power, going down to 19 life. Always starting at 20 for your starting life total. Anything else?
I will pass turn.
I'll untap, draw, another land, play for the turn, and I will pay 1 white and 2 colorless to cast a sorcery. Lingering Souls. Sorceries go directly to the graveyard. I can put 2 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying onto the battlefield. I will dictate these with dice for now. So there's 2 1/1 white flying creatures. Usually would have tokens ready for whatever deck we built that actually will signify a card. But for now we don't have that for this. So I have 2 1/1 flyers and a 3/1 on the ground. I'm going to go ahead and attack with my 3/1 on the ground.
I will block it with my 2/2.
Okay. And being that it's flying, it can block creatures on the ground as well as flying creatures. My fox does the 3 damage to his 2/2. So he dies, but he does 2 damage to my fox's 1 defense, sending him to the graveyard as well. Attack phase is over, no secondary main phase, and end of turn. And we do the untap, the draw,
Draw. Play a land.
play a land for the turn, but you can only play 1 land per turn.
And I'm going to say done.
Okay, no attack phase. Untap, draw, play a land for the turn, and I will attack with 2 1/1 flyers.
I will block one of the 1/1 flyers with my 1/3 flyer.
Okay, it will die as it takes the 1 damage, but his will live because it has a 3 for toughness. So I lose one of my 1/1 flyers, but 1 gets through for 1 damage, putting him to 19. Now I'll pay 1 white and 1 colorless during my secondary main phase, following my attack phase, to play a Countless Gears Renegade. He's a 2/2 creature with the ability of Revolt. When he enters the battlefield, if a permanent I controlled left the battlefield this turn, I create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. And since my permanent did leave the battlefield this turn, which was a spirit creature token, I will now put into play an artifact creature token per his ability, which is a 1/1. And I will end my turn.
Okay, so untap, but keep draw. I will play land. I will pay 3 colorless and 2 blue. For a 3/2 flying hexproof, and hexproof means this creature can't be the target of spells or abilities your opponents control. And That's flying, right?
Yes, that's the 1/1 flying white creature.
I'm gonna say done.
Okay. So untap my flyer, untap my lands, draw for the turn, play a land for the turn. I'm going to pay 1 white and 1 colorless to cast my other sorcery. Gather the Townsfolk puts 2 1/1 white human creature tokens onto the battlefield. So I get another 1/1 and 1 more. Now, in my graveyard, I have this spell Lingering Souls, which has an ability called Flashback. If I had black mana, I could pay 1 black and 1 colorless to cast this spell from my graveyard and remove it from the game. However, I only have white available at the moment. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to attack with my 2/2 and my 1/1 on the ground and my 1/1 flyer. So I have 3 attackers.
Well, I'll block the 2/2 with my 1/3,
Alright.
and I'll block the 1/1 flying with my 3/2 flying.
Okay, so the 1/1 on the ground makes it through for 1 damage. And both creatures that blocked here actually will live because 2 damage is dealt to his 3 toughness, so he lives, but only 1 damage is dealt to his 2 toughness, so he lives. So I have 2 untapped 1/1 creatures on the ground currently. 1 tapped 1/1 and 1 tapped 2/2. And I will pass turn. I'll do the untap step, upkeep and draw. Play land for the turn.
I will pay 2 colorless and a blue for a Scroll Thief. He is a 1/3. Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, I draw a card.
Alright.
Attack phase. I will attack with my 3/2 flying hexproof.
Alright, I will have to take the damage because I have no flyers available to block. So I will go down to 16 life.
And I'm done.
Okay, so we untap everything that was tapped, creatures and lands. I drew Inspiring Roar, play a land for the turn. This still being my hand as the telepathy spell is out, the enchantment that lets him see my hand. So I will pay the 4 mana for Inspiring Roar. It's a sorcery, and I put a +1/+1 counter on all of my creatures permanently. So, to signify this, this has a 1/1 counter on this creature, and we'll just turn this to make it a 2/2. This 1/1 becomes a 2/2, and this 1/1 becomes a 2/2. So, I will now attack with a 3/3, a 2/2, a 2/2, and yet another 2/2.
Well, I'll block the 3/3 with my 1/3.
Alright.
And I'll block one of the 2/2s with my other 1/3.
Alright. So the 1/3 will die that blocked the 3/3, because it took 3 damage. The 1/3 that blocked the 2/2, they will both live because they did not deal enough damage to each other. But 2 got through for 4 total damage.
I am down to 14.
And that is the end of turn.
Untap, upkeep, draw. I have no land to play. I'll pay 1 for a Mist-Cloaked Herald. Is a 1/1 and he can't be blocked. And attack phase. Do you have any blockers?
Yeah.
Well, I'll swing over with the 3-2.
Alright, 3-2 flyer. Have to take the damage and go down to 13.
And I am done.
Alright. Untap. Draw. Play a land for the turn. And let's see. Alright, so I'm going to pay 1 white and 3 colorless to pay my Apothecary Geist. It's a 2/3 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, if you control another spirit creature, you gain 3 life. But I do not have any more of my spirits left. They were all killed off earlier. So, I have 1 card remaining in hand. And I'm going to go ahead and attack with a 3/3 and 3 separate 2/2 creatures.
Well, I will block the 3/3 with my 1/3. He
Okay.
will die. And I will also block one of your 2/2s with my 1/1. And he will also die.
Alright, so we've got 4 damage coming through.
I'm down to 10.
And I will end my turn.
Untap. Upkeep. Draw. Play land for turn. Attack phase. I'll sit down.
Alright. I will untap all creatures. Draw for the turn. Play a land for the turn. And I will attack with a 2/3 flyer, a 3/3, and 3 2/2s on the ground.
Well, I'll block the 3/3 on the ground with my 3/2. They both will die.
Okay.
And I will take 2. So at 8 damage. So I'm down to 2.
And pass turn.
Untap, upkeep, draw. I'm done.
Untap. Upkeep. Draw. Play my land for the turn. Pay 1 white and 2 colorless to put a flying 2/2.
In response, I'll pay a colorless and a blue. Essence Scatter, counter target creature spell.
Alright, Essence Scatter. Instant goes on the stack, targeting which creature? The one
Okay.
just cast?
Yes.
Okay. And it counters the spell as it is being cast, which means that this creature never gets a chance to enter the battlefield and goes directly to the graveyard. From there, I will attack for 8 total damage.
And that's game.
Alright. At the end, this is basically a wrap up of the basics of where cards are placed during gameplay, the shuffling, and mechanics for starting a game. Certain things that didn't come out, such as artifacts and creature enchantments, we'll get into next time. But for now, we are able to see the basics of a game and gameplay as it relates in real time. This is an average game. Usually most will only last about 10 minutes, sometimes 20, depending on the style of the deck being played. These are both learner decks, as I said before, so they are a little bit on the weaker side and were put together just to simply show the basics of gameplay. However, we'll get into more complex strategies and actually combat tricks later on in the series. But for now,
Don't forget your triggers.
and always keep 2 blue open.